Hello, my name is Kevin and this is Wind Me Up episode 8. Wind me up! Welcome back to Wind Me Up. This week's wine will be from Ribera del Duero, where we will be tasting p.s.i's p.s.i 2016 from Domaine de Pingus. Now, Ribera del Duero is one of the 9 areas in the larger Castilla y León area of the northwestern part of Spain. Here it is a hot continental climate. Summers here can be up to 42 degrees and the winters can be down to -20. Now, all great winemaking areas of the world have something that mitigates the area to keep it all in check. You know, it can either be too hot or too cold, it can be frost, it can be hail, so it needs something. In the Ribera del Duero, it is its height. The elevation there helps with the really hot temperatures. The vines are grown between 700 and 1100 meters, which means that the daytime temperatures, like I said, in the summer can be up to 42 degrees, but in the evenings, because of the height, because the higher you go up, the cooler it gets, in the evenings, that cools it all down, which keeps hold of the fresh acidity in the wine and keeps hold of the acidity in the wine and the fresh fruit flavors. So Ribera del Duero was historically more known for its inexpensive bulk wines made by wine growers and selling it to cooperatives making bulk wine. These days there still is that going on, but there's a lot more family-owned, quality-produced domains making their own wine from their own vineyards. There is in fact over 300 wineries, but there's 8,000 wine growers. The most dominant grape in the Ribera del Duero is Tempranillo. This is a thick-skinned, medium acidity grape. It buds and ripens early, which is a good thing for Ribera del Duero because it has got that shorter growing season because of its continental climate. There has to be a minimum of 75% Tempranillo in Ribera del Duero, but most of the wineries make their wines with like 90 to 100% Tempranillo. But you are allowed to blend in Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Malbec and a little bit of Grenache. Now, Spain is famous for its aging requirements. You have 6 sort of aging requirements. You have Joven, which is a wine that doesn't need any time in oak at all and is meant for early consumption. As soon as it's in the bottle in the shops, you want to buy it and drink it. It's quite often made with carbonic maceration, which is another story. Get back to that another day. Then you have a wine called a Roble, which means oak, and that typically spends between 3 and 6 months in oak, just gives it a little touch of oak. Then you have Crinza. There you have minimum requirements. A Crinza has to be 2 years of aging with 6 months in oak. Then you have Reserva, which is 3 years of aging with a minimum of 12 months in oak. And then you have Gran Reserva, only made in the best vintages, in theory anyway at least. That needs 5 years aging, 60 months aging with a minimum of 18 months in oak. And then you have something like they call Cushita, which is what this is. Now that is kind of like a catch-all thing. It's kind of like a little bit more of a loose regulation. So they don't want to, I'm assuming p.s.i made this wine because he didn't want to sort of pigeonhole himself in he had to make a Crinza or he had to make a Reserva. He wanted it maybe something in between. The trouble with that is you don't actually know how much oak is in this wine. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 2 years. That Crinza just leaves it open to interpretation. Now, I can demonstrate with this bottle of Rioja here, the labelling they have on the back of all Spanish wines with the minimum aging requirements. They're actually colour coded. So I hope you can see that. That's green. That is Gran Reserva. If it was blue, it will be Reserva. If it was red, it will be Crinza. And if it's pink, it's the catch-all. There's also two different types of oak used in winemaking, especially when you're talking Spanish wines. It's like traditionally American oak for the Rioja and French oak for Ribera del Duero. These days it's more French oak as well in Rioja, but still quite a lot using American oak. There is also some American oak in Ribera, but mostly it is French oak. The main difference being American oak is more kind of pungent, lots of vanilla flavours, exotic fruit flavours, coconut, coffee, like chocolate notes come off American oak, where the French oak is a bit more subtle, still vanilla but more subtle, more sort of herbaceous, spicy notes and smoky notes from French oak. A little bit more, yeah, more tame oak, a nicer oak, I think. Slightly overdone American oak, but that's an opinion. So p.s.i is a Danish man who makes this wine. He makes one of the most famous wines in the whole of the world, actually. Certainly one of the two most famous ones in Spain, called Pingus. Now Pingus is one of those cult wines. It's got a 100-point wine by Robert Parker back in the day, which just exploded the popularity of that wine and made it very difficult to get hold of. There's small amounts of it, and it's selling for like 6,000 to 10,000 kroner a bottle. It's ridiculously priced. He also makes another little fairer price called Fleur de Pingus. This is also a great wine. There you're looking more between 600 and probably between 800 and 1,000 kroner, 1,100 kroner a bottle for that. Still very expensive. And a bit overpriced as well, I think, but there you go. But this one is the p.s.i. And this one, if I remember rightly, cost me about 250 kroner a bottle. Difference is, you know, I said back in the old days you had farmers, grape growers, making, you know, growing their grapes and selling them to cooperatives. Now basically the difference with this wine and p.s.i's other two wines, which are estate wines made from his own vineyards, made in his own estate. The grapes from this has been bought from farmers, so he can make a cheaper wine for us. But he has said to the farmers who buys the grapes from, if you do certain things to your vineyards to increase the quality of the grapes, then he will pay more money for the grapes. And this is what he's been doing, and since, I think it's about 2006 or the first vintage. So now 10 years on of him doing that, you know, those wine growers are making some great grapes and delivering them to p.s.i so he can make a comparatively cheap wine for him. Obviously you can't compare this to a Pingus or a Fleur de Pingus, you know, it's just different, it's chalk and cheese. But I've tasted a few of these and they're good wines. But a lot of the p.s.i wines, I find, my personal opinion, are not what you kind of expect from, you know, the typical Ribera del Duero is that black currant fruit, you know, very lush fruit and lots of ripe but polished tannins and big heavy wines but with nice acidity. This one's a little bit more rustic, a little bit more of the earthy side. I don't know about this one, I haven't drunk this one yet. But I have been in the past and I've really enjoyed that. But I think some people when they taste p.s.i do get a bit disappointed with it. But let's see, well, I'll come back with the tasting on this one and tell you what I think, what score I give it and will I buy it again. So here we are in the high-tech world again. Here's my Vivino. You can see it's got an average rating of 4.2. It's got an average price of 299 krona. I've rated it 4.1. Drank yesterday. Well, I have to say I really enjoyed it. It was a really nice wine. Interestingly, I've had this wine 3 or 4 years ago. I found the note for that, and it was all a little bit muted, a little bit needed a bit more time. I said, give it another 3 or 4 years. And funny enough, 3 or 4 years later, this is my wine notes. 4.1, medium ruby, lovely nose, blackberries and black plum, and a meaty nose with black pepper, a touch of cinnamon maybe. There's a smoky clove element from oak aging and a tapenade licorice that ends the flavours. In the mouth there's spot on medium plus acidity, really good acidity, and medium firm but integrated tannins. The wine finishes with a bitter black olive tapenade, which I've written bravo to. I think it's just a great balance, you know, it's got that, the blackberry flavours and like sort of the black sort of tapenade and licorice flavours at the same time. Brilliant. I've also written here, p.s.i has often disappointed, but this 2016 is excellent. Enjoyed as normal with a nice big steak. I'll see if I find the old one. No, I don't need to do that. Oh, hang on, here it is. And now my old rating, which is from 2018, I've given it 4. It's a dark fruit, animalistic black pepper licorice nose. Super balanced with acidity and a fresh savoury tannins. It lacks a bit of fruit and ends slightly bitter. Needs time, 3 or 4 years. This could be a classic. I've written 2016, so still a bit young now. Must let it breathe for a couple of hours to soften. But good wine, but could be a great wine. I mean, I've given it 1 more point. I think it's much better now than it was in 2018. Great wine. Like I said, I think it cost me 250 krona a bottle. So would I buy the bottle again? Definitely, it's superb. It's good value for money. It's not going to be a Pingus or a Flor de Pingus, so don't be too disappointed. But it is a good bottle of Spanish Ribera duero. And these days, I've read as well that he has slightly changed the ingredients, where it's 90% instead of 100% Tempranillo, and he's given it 10% Grenache. That little bit of Grenache will kind of uplift it, give it a little bit more sort of fruitiness, and it will take probably a little bit away the sort of black fruited tapenade licorice thing. So it might make people like that more. Give it a more sort of typical Ribera duero taste. Yeah, what do I know? Anyway, that's it for episode 8. See you next time. Cheers for watching.